Have you ever gone to a friend or family member's house with the best intentions only to leave, feeling a little awkward and uncertain if you may have overstepped a boundary? Maybe you've even found yourself wondering if your well-meaning visits are causing more harm than good. If you're in your 60s or older, it's especially important to be mindful of how, when, and why you visit others as we navigate our golden years. While a friendly visit may seem harmless on the surface, sometimes what we think is a simple gesture of goodwill can unintentionally cause discomfort or strain relationships. In this article, we're going to explore 4 types of people you should consider avoiding visiting after 60, because what you believe to be an innocent drop-in could inadvertently create tension, miscommunication, or even resentment. By the end of this article, you'll have the tools to maintain healthier, more respectful connections with your loved ones, ensuring that your relationships remain strong and mutually fulfilling. We'll talk about the critical importance of respecting personal space, how making too many visits can backfire, and ways to protect both your boundaries and the ones of the people you care about. Stick with me to learn how to avoid the common pitfalls that can harm your friendships and family ties, while discovering the best strategies to show you care without crossing any lines. If you're not already subscribed, I'd encourage you to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss any of our future articles. Your support means so much to me, and if you've enjoyed this article, I'd be so grateful if you could help me continue sharing these valuable lessons by liking and sharing them with others. If you like the topic of today's article, please type 1 in the comments. If you don't, feel free to type 0 so I can learn what I can do to improve and make these articles even better for you. Now let's dive in. Avoid visiting old friends' houses as we navigate through the years and deepen the bonds that define our relationships. One truth becomes ever clearer: the importance of respecting each other's personal space and time. Over time, we learn that even the closest of friendships require a delicate balance between connection and boundaries. We may have spent years together, laughing through shared experiences or comforting each other during difficult moments. But that does not erase the reality that every person needs space. One of the simplest yet most important ways we can show respect for a friend's space is by refraining from showing up unannounced at their home. It might seem harmless, perhaps even thoughtful, to drop by without giving your friend a heads up. After all, you've shared so much over the years, and surely your friendship is strong enough to withstand a surprise visit, right? But the truth is, no matter how long we've been friends, we all have a right to privacy and personal time. While we may feel that an impromptu visit is a sign of closeness, it can be an intrusion, an unexpected interruption in someone's life. A simple phone call or text beforehand might seem like a small gesture, but it makes a world of difference. It is an acknowledgement that their time and space are just as valuable as your desire to reconnect. Think about it for a moment. What does it feel like when someone shows up uninvited at your door, even when you love them and have known them for years? It can feel overwhelming. It's not about the person or the intention, but about the disruption of your flow. Maybe you're in the middle of something important, working on a project, dealing with personal stress, or just savoring a quiet moment of solitude. A surprise visit can throw off your emotional state, leaving you feeling either obligated to entertain or guilty for not being in the mood for socializing. It's a tough position to be in because we don't want to let our friends down, but we also need to protect our mental and emotional space. That's why a phone call or text beforehand can be such a simple yet profound solution. It gives both parties the freedom to prepare for the interaction, ensuring that both are in the right frame of mind. It also removes the pressure that comes with feeling like you're intruding into someone's life. A phone call is an invitation, not a demand, and it's a gesture of respect. It says, "I want to see you, but I also want to make sure it's a good time for you." In a world where everyone is constantly on the go, this small act of consideration can be the key to maintaining a healthy and thriving relationship. I've come to believe that respecting boundaries like this isn't just about being polite. It's about showing empathy and maturity in our friendships. Life is messy, and people grow, change, and evolve. As we get older, we become more aware of our own needs, and one of those needs is the need for peace, quiet, and personal space. This isn't about drifting apart from friends, but rather about creating a space where each person feels comfortable and valued. We live in a time where life can feel overwhelming, and everyone has their stresses and responsibilities. Understanding that your friends may not always have the emotional energy to entertain or host a visit is a sign of deep respect for their well-being. Consider the story of Olivia and Sarah, two women who have shared a deep and lasting friendship for over 30 years. They have been there for each other through thick and thin, celebrating milestones, comforting each other through loss, and supporting one another through the complexities of life. But as time went on, both Olivia and Sarah found themselves busier than ever. Olivia, in particular, felt like stopping by unannounced was an easy way to reconnect, without realizing that this wasn't the best way to approach their relationship anymore. One afternoon, Olivia dropped by Sarah's house without calling ahead, thinking it would be a casual and spontaneous visit. However, when she arrived, Sarah was in the middle of an important project and her mind was nowhere near ready for socializing. While Sarah was always kind enough to welcome Olivia with open arms, she felt flustered and rushed, unable to give her full attention to the visit. Olivia, on the other hand, felt a sense of awkwardness as if she had disrupted Sarah's life. The visit, though entirely well-meaning, left both women feeling a bit off balance. After that experience, Olivia reflected on the situation and realized how much better it would have been if she had reached out beforehand. From that point forward, Olivia made a commitment to respect Sarah's time by texting or calling before coming over. It wasn't about being distant. It was about making sure they were both in the right place mentally and emotionally for a good visit. Now they meet at their favorite cafe, a neutral space where neither of them feels the weight of life's daily tasks. They can chat, share memories, and enjoy each other's company without worrying about disrupting one another's routines. Their friendship has only grown stronger because of this simple yet powerful shift in how they approach their time together. If you are still reading this article and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. This approach to respecting boundaries is not a reflection of a weakening friendship, but a sign of its growth and maturity. It's about acknowledging that both you and your friend have separate lives to live, and that's okay. It's healthy. When we give each other space to be ourselves, we give our friendships room to flourish. It's a practice of kindness, understanding, and trust. You're showing your friend that you value them enough to honor their time and space, just as you hope they will respect yours. As we grow older, the need for privacy and personal time often becomes more pronounced. It's not about being antisocial. Rather, it's about preserving the energy we have and using it wisely. We are more attuned to the importance of solitude and reflection. We have learned through experience that peace is invaluable. It's not about avoiding people or becoming reclusive. It's about cherishing the moments when we can be alone to recharge and reflect. And when we do spend time with others, it must be meaningful and intentional. So take a moment to reflect on your friendships and the way you approach them. Respecting boundaries is an act of love. It's a way to show that you care deeply about the other person's comfort, mental space, and emotional well-being. The next time you think about dropping by unannounced, remember that a simple call or text can make all the difference. It allows you both to prepare for a meaningful connection without the pressure of disrupting each other's lives. After all, the best moments shared with friends are the ones that happen when both people are truly ready, when their hearts and minds are open to the conversation. It's about quality, not quantity, about making sure the time spent together is genuine and enjoyable for both of you. Don't visit relatives' houses. When we think about visiting family, it's almost instinctual to believe that spending time with them will naturally strengthen our relationships. Family is often at the top of the list when we think about the people who should be part of our lives, especially as we grow older. The idea that the more we see our relatives, the closer we'll grow, seems so simple and appealing, doesn't it? The thought of regular visits evokes images of warmth, connection, and the comfort of being surrounded by people who know you inside out. After all, these are the people who've been with you through the ups and downs of life. So surely more time together equals a stronger bond, or does it? At first glance, this idea seems to make perfect sense. Who wouldn't want to spend more time with family, building memories and deepening the connections that already exist? But as time goes on, we start to realize that this very thing spending too much time with family, can sometimes have the opposite effect. Over time, what was once a comforting thought can slowly become a burden. As we age and our lives change, so do the dynamics of our relationships, and sometimes too much of a good thing can lead to emotional exhaustion and unintended consequences. The more we push for constant proximity, the more we risk suffocating those we love without even realizing it. I've come to learn that while family is important, there's something just as important: personal space. It's vital to respect not only our boundaries but also those of the people we care about. Space is not about distancing ourselves from the ones we love. Rather, it's about giving them room to breathe, to live their lives independently, and to ensure that time spent together remains something to be cherished, not something that feels like an obligation. It's about understanding that love can be expressed in subtle ways, sometimes through a text, a phone call, or a quiet moment of acknowledgement from afar. This concept became all too clear to me when I heard about Thomas, a 64-year-old man who had just retired after decades of hard work. His story struck a chord with me because I could see myself in him. Like many of us, Thomas had built his life around work. His identity had been wrapped up in his career, his accomplishments, and his status. But once he retired, he found himself at a crossroads, unsure of what to do with all the time on his hands. The busy, fast-paced life he had lived no longer existed. He had never really prepared for the quiet of retirement. For the first time, he felt adrift, unsure of how to fill his days or even what his purpose was now that he didn't have the demands of his job to keep him occupied. Thomas had always prided himself on his family connections. He believed that retirement would be the perfect time to reconnect with old friends and family. He wanted to feel the warmth of companionship again, to re-establish those bonds that had been put on hold during his years of work. And so one afternoon, with a box of homemade brownies in hand, he decided to visit an old friend, Daniel. Daniel, who had retired a few years before Thomas, was someone he had known for many years. They had shared countless memories and had been close during the time they worked together in the same industry. Thomas thought that a visit would not only bring a little cheer to Daniel, but also give him the chance to rekindle an old friendship. It felt like the right thing to do. No agenda, no expectations, just two old friends catching up after years of silence. But when Thomas arrived at Daniel's house, he was taken aback by what he sensed. Daniel and his wife Emily greeted him with politeness, but there was something about their expressions that unsettled him. Instead of the warm embrace he had imagined, there was a slight tension in the air. Thomas tried to ease the discomfort by offering them the brownies, but Daniel, with a chuckle that didn't quite reach his eyes, remarked that their lives had become quieter since retiring, almost as if they were apologizing for their new, more subdued lifestyle. Daniel joked that they no longer had any power or influence to offer, a remark that Thomas tried to laugh off. But despite his attempts to reassure them that he wasn't there to ask for anything, that he just wanted to visit, something in the air felt wrong. The unease didn't fade, it only seemed to grow stronger. The conversation that followed was a strange mix of awkwardness and forced cheer. Thomas, feeling the uncomfortable shift in energy, tried to engage in small talk, but it felt hollow. There was no spark of connection, no warmth of the familiar bond they once shared. The tea they shared felt lukewarm, and the silence between words grew heavier with every passing minute. Thomas began to realize that his visit, one he had intended as a simple gesture of love, was now causing more harm than good. He could see it in Daniel's eyes and hear it in Emily's polite but distant responses. What was supposed to be a moment of reconnection had turned into an obligation, a chore for everyone involved. Emily eventually saw Thomas out, her smile strained and her goodbye polite, but hurried. As Thomas walked away from their home, he couldn't shake the feeling that he had overstayed his welcome. The exchange, which had once promised warmth, had left him feeling drained and embarrassed. Reflecting on the experience later, Thomas realized that his good intentions had inadvertently pushed the boundaries of their relationship. In his eagerness to reconnect, he hadn't recognized the importance of giving Daniel and Emily their space. They were in a different stage of life now, one where they had cultivated a peaceful, quiet routine. and his sudden appearance had disrupted that balance. This experience taught Thomas a valuable lesson. It was not about how often he visited or how much he tried to give, but about respecting the needs of others. Family isn't just about proximity. It's about understanding when to give people space and when to allow them to live their lives without the pressure of constantly being in each other's presence. Sometimes showing love means stepping back, being okay with silence, and trusting that the bond will remain strong even without constant reinforcement. True love doesn't require endless visits. It's about knowing when to stay and when to go, allowing relationships to flourish naturally, not out of duty but because they are built on mutual respect and understanding. In the end, Thomas's visit wasn't a failure but rather a turning point in his understanding of how relationships evolve. Love doesn't always look the same as it did when we were younger, and sometimes the greatest act of love is knowing when to let go. As we grow older, it becomes more important to cultivate our own space, to give those we love the freedom to live their lives without feeling like they must constantly entertain or accommodate us. It's a lesson in the quiet power of respect, of understanding the natural rhythm of relationships, and of trusting that love will endure even in the spaces between visits. Avoid visiting siblings' houses. There's a certain sense of comfort that comes with the thought of family, especially siblings. From a young age, we're taught that family is forever, and that those bonds are unbreakable. The memories you create together, the shared experiences, the inside jokes, and the understanding that comes from growing up in the same household seem like they should tie you together for life. It's the kind of relationship that's supposed to last through thick and thin, a constant source of support and love. Yet as time passes, the inevitable changes of life creep in, and those once unbreakable bonds can begin to feel fragile. Even in the most loving families, it's a truth we often resist, that the way things used to be, those family gatherings, those moments of closeness, may not always remain. And in the end, sometimes it's better to step back and recognize when the time has come to respect each other's space. Take, for example, the Wilson family, a group of 5 siblings, each well over 50 years old now, and each carrying the weight of decades of shared memories. Growing up, they were the epitome of family closeness. Their parents' house was the central hub, a place where holidays were celebrated with warmth, where the table was always filled with laughter and good food, and where every Sunday seemed to bring everyone together. The Wilsons lived in a way that so many of us would envy, tight-knit, supportive, and full of joy. They knew each other's hearts, their hopes, and their fears. There was something so beautiful about the simplicity of it all, the security of knowing that no matter what happened in the outside world, you always had a family to come home to. And in that home, they created memories that seemed as though they could never fade. If you are still reading this article and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. But as we all know, life changes. It's inevitable. As the years passed and their parents grew older, something started to shift in the dynamics of the family. And then, after the inevitable loss of their parents, the center that had once held them all together was gone. The house that had been the family gathering place, the home where everyone found comfort, was no longer a sanctuary for their reunions. The Wilsons, as they each ventured into their own lives, began to feel the subtle yet powerful pull of distance. Each of them had their own family to care for, their responsibilities, their own lives to manage. It was no longer as easy to come together. The frequency of their family gatherings began to dwindle, and what was once a constant presence in their lives became an occasional event. The once lively and bustling family dinners slowly became fewer and further between. The change was so gradual that it was hard to pinpoint exactly when it started. At first, there was just a missed gathering, here and there, a reason that seemed legitimate. Work, health issues, family events of their own. But then before they knew it, the visits and calls that had once been so regular became distant memories. The connection that had once been so automatic began to feel like a distant echo of something that no longer existed. One day, a close family friend, someone who had been a part of the Wilsons' lives for many years, asked Michael, the eldest sibling, why the family no longer gathered as often. Michael, the one who had always taken charge during the family get-togethers, who had always been the glue holding it all together, responded with a cold, almost indifferent tone. We only gathered because our parents were there. Now it doesn't make sense to get together. If I have time, I'd rather spend it with my own family. At first, that response may seem harsh, even shocking. It might sting and leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about family bonds. But as painful as it is to admit, there's a raw truth in Michael's words. It's a truth that many families face as they grow older. The glue that once held everyone together, usually the parents, is no longer there. The things that once made the family feel like an unshakable unit, those family traditions, the spontaneous gatherings, the shared moments of joy, begin to fade. And that connection is slowly replaced by the complexity of adult life. As we grow older, our lives become increasingly filled with responsibilities and demands that leave little room for the kind of closeness we once shared. And as painful as it is to accept, priorities shift. Children grow up, families evolve, and people change. The things that once seemed so simple, gathering together for a meal, spending time with siblings, keeping in touch regularly, become harder to maintain. The truth is, we all change. Our lives, our interests, our goals, and even the way we relate to one another shift. It's easy to assume that just because you've always been close to your siblings, that closeness will remain as you grow older. But the reality is, nothing in life is static. People grow apart and relationships evolve. This is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just a part of the process of life. As adults, we each carve out our own spaces in the world, and sometimes those spaces are no longer as connected as they once were. The family dynamic that once felt natural now requires more effort, more understanding, and more respect for each other's boundaries. This is where the idea of visiting your siblings without a specific reason, without an invitation, can sometimes lead to discomfort. It's not because there's no love or respect between the siblings. It's just that life, with all its changes, has made it difficult to maintain the same rhythm, and that's okay. The truth is that not everyone is in the same place, and sometimes showing up unannounced or without a clear reason can add pressure to an already delicate situation. There may be unspoken feelings of resentment or burden, especially if one sibling feels that they are always expected to host or entertain. These feelings, though often hidden, can slowly chip away at the relationship. And this is where we must learn to let go, not in a way that means giving up on the relationship, but in a way that acknowledges the space we all need to grow. It's crucial to recognize when it's time to step back and allow each other the freedom to thrive in our own lives. The love between siblings does not diminish when visits become less frequent, it simply shifts. The bond that once was woven and shared moments become something deeper and more understanding. It's a more mature love, one that respects the autonomy and the space of each individual, yet still honors the connection that was built over a lifetime. We must learn that the most important thing in any relationship, particularly with family, is not the frequency of visits but the quality of connection. And sometimes that means giving each other room to breathe, room to grow, and room to flourish independently. We must let go of the idea that love is proven through constant interaction and accept that sometimes the best way to show love is through respect and understanding of one another's journey. So while the visits may become fewer, the love doesn't have to fade. It simply takes on a new form, and that form, though different, can still be just as powerful and meaningful. Avoid visiting the homes of overly tidy people. Visiting someone's home is more than just an ordinary social interaction. It's an act of understanding, an unspoken gesture of respect towards someone's personal space. When you walk into someone's home, you're not just entering a physical space. You're stepping into the heart of their life, their history, their personality. As we grow older, we become more sensitive to our surroundings and more aware of the energy and tranquility that comes from living in an environment that we've carefully curated to fit our needs. The older we get, the more we begin to see our homes as sacred spaces, almost like extensions of our being. The peace, order, and cleanliness of these spaces are not just preferences. They become essential to our sense of well-being. It is no surprise, then, that as we age, we become increasingly protective of our homes. the places where we can retreat from the chaos of the outside world. David is one of those people who takes great pride in his home. He is meticulous, perhaps even to a fault, about how his space is maintained. For him, a clean, orderly home isn't just about aesthetics. It's about creating an atmosphere that feels harmonious and calm. Every item has its place and every surface is free from dust. When you enter his home, it feels like you've stepped into a well-maintained museum, not in an impersonal way, but in the sense that everything is intentional, everything is part of a larger picture. It's a reflection of his personality, his need for control, and his way of ensuring that the world he lives in is orderly, predictable, and serene. It's his way of crafting a sanctuary for himself. This dedication to cleanliness and order might seem like an obsession to some, but to David, it is much deeper than that. It's not just about having a tidy space. It's about feeling a sense of mastery over his environment, something that is incredibly important to him, especially as he gets older. David is a man who has lived through his share of challenges, and his home has always been a place of refuge. It has been his retreat, the place where he can recharge, where he feels in control of his world, even if only for a moment. So when his home is disturbed, it's not just the physical mess that bothers him. It's the emotional disturbance that comes with it. The peace that he has worked so hard to cultivate feels shattered, and that emotional disruption is what truly causes him distress. One day, Natalie, David's cousin, stopped by his house unannounced. Natalie had always been more spontaneous and less focused on the idea of order. Her visit, while well-meaning, wasn't planned. She needed to borrow some money, and she thought she could catch David at home for a quick favor. While David has always been generous and happy to help his family, this time things would be different. When Natalie arrived, she was in a hurry and didn't take much care. She was a bit flustered, perhaps a little too comfortable in David's home. She headed straight to the bathroom and, in her haste, accidentally knocked over a bottle of lotion. A small spill, barely noticeable to most. But to David, it felt like a rupture in the very fabric of his sanctuary. At first, David brushed it off, but as the incident lingered in his mind, he began to feel that familiar sense of irritation creep in. It wasn't just about the spill, though. It was about how it symbolized a lack of understanding or respect for the care and attention he had given to his home. In that one moment, it felt as if Natalie had disregarded the boundaries of his personal space. To David, his home wasn't just a place to live. It was a manifestation of his inner peace, a reflection of the energy he invested in making his world feel safe and balanced. The mess wasn't just a physical nuisance. It represented a disruption of the calm that he had worked hard to create. If you are still reading this article and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. In the end, David made the difficult decision not to lend Natalie the money she needed. While this choice might seem cold or heartless to those who don't understand the emotional weight of the situation, it made perfect sense to David. It wasn't about the money. It was about something far deeper. It was about respecting his boundaries and his need for order in his environment. David later explained that while he would never deny helping a family member, he couldn't overlook the lack of respect for his home. For him, a simple gesture of kindness, like lending money, was not enough to outweigh the emotional significance of his space. His home was a sanctuary, a place that should be treated with care and respect, not disturbed by thoughtless actions. David's response might seem extreme to some, even petty. After all, the mess was so minor and it was only a bathroom spill. But that's exactly the point. Sometimes it's not about the incident itself, but the emotional significance attached to it. David's reaction highlights a truth that many people, whether they admit it or not, hold dear. Our homes are not just places where we live. They are extensions of who we are. They represent our boundaries and our efforts to find balance and peace in the world. When someone walks into our home without regard for our efforts, it feels like an invasion, not just of our space, but of our sense of self. David's experience is a lesson in the importance of respecting others' homes. It's a reminder that a visit, no matter how well-meaning, can still be an intrusion if we don't consider the impact we may have on the other person's emotional landscape. For those of us who cherish order and cleanliness, it's not just about having a neat house. It's about preserving a sense of peace, a personal space that feels like ours, untouched by the chaos of the outside world. And when we're older, that peace becomes even more precious. It's not just a preference, it's a need. When we visit someone's home, we must remember that we're entering their world, their sanctuary, and with that we must carry the humility to honor their boundaries, understanding that even a small disruption can have a far greater impact than we realize. It's easy to dismiss David's actions as overly particular, but it's an emotional reality that many people, particularly those who value order and cleanliness, live with every day. So the next time you visit someone, especially someone who takes great pride in their living space, be mindful. It's not just about respecting their things. It's about respecting the very essence of who they are and the emotional world they've built around themselves. A little consideration goes a long way, and in return, you may find that your gesture of respect creates a lasting bond between you and the other person, one that goes far beyond any material favor. As we wrap up today's discussion, I hope this story has helped you reflect on the importance of respecting other spaces and the deeper meaning behind maintaining order in our homes. We all live our lives differently, but one thing we share is the need for peace and comfort in the places we call home. Whether you value cleanliness or simply appreciate a quiet retreat, understanding the emotional significance of someone's home is key to building stronger, more respectful relationships. Now let's hear from you. What have you learned from today's article? Is there something you'll start doing differently when visiting someone's home, or maybe even how you approach your own space? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please share one thing you've learned and will bring into practice in your life by commenting below this article. If you like this article, please leave a comment, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support means the world to us, and we can't wait to continue sharing more insights with you. Thank you for reading, and I'll see you in the next article.